is Jahara and welcome to another episode of In the Line of Wire. I have with me today Mr. Parvez Iftikhar, who is the CEO of the Universal Service Fund. And I must tell you how I first met him. I met him in a van at Kuala Lumpur Airport, heading for, I don't know which hotel was it, the Pan Pacific Hotel. I didn't know him. There was one other person in the van, and because I heard from the driver that it was a 2-hour drive, I decided to introduce myself and found that he was from Pakistan, and then he told me of all the wonderful work USF is doing. So here's Parvez Iftikhar. Let's have a chat with him and find out what the Universal Service Fund is and what it does. Hi Parvez.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good to see you again. Not quite Kuala Lumpur, is it?
Yeah, but it's as good. I must say, this is a wonderful
office. It's a lovely office.
Yes,
yes. Great studio.
Very impressive.
Would you tell us when the Universal Service Fund was set up and for what reason?
Yeah. Actually, it started with the Pakistan Telecom Act 1996. In fact, it was envisaged that there will be a Universal Service Fund. Then in 2000, when the act was amended, this thing was it became more serious.
Okay.
But it took a few years till all the rules were framed and everything was in place. And finally, in the end of 2006, December 2006, this company was formed because the government decided to disperse the fund not via a government department, which lots of other countries are doing. They said we'll have a public-private partnership model. Okay. Which was unique, by the way. The only other country that, at least I know, in Universal Service Fund is Canada, which is doing a similar thing. So they decided to make a company under this, in this public-private partnership thing. And then they started looking for the first employee, and that was the CEO. And I was ultimately selected, went through a series of interviews and all that. And I joined in May 2007, so I was the first employee. Okay. So that's, to answer your question, that's how it started. Okay. And from then on...
And what is it supposed to do?
Okay.
What's the concept?
The concept is that there are always places where the telecom operators, the licensed telecom operators, do not venture because it's not a business case there. So what they do is, and this is happening in many other countries as well, that they put in a certain amount of their revenues, a certain percentage of their revenues, it's different in different countries, in a so-called Universal Service Fund. Okay. Some people call it Universal Service Obligation Fund, as in India. Okay. And this fund is then used to provide telecommunication services in those areas. Okay. As I said, it's being done in different countries. Different percentages are applied in different countries. India is 5%, Malaysia is 6%, South Africa is 0.5%. We are about 1.5%. So,
so that's small.
That's small, but at the same time, we see that the way it is dispersed, and because of the robust competition between the competitors, you actually can do a lot with this, whatever money that comes in.
So what have you been doing with it?
Yeah, in the last year and a half plus, first of all, we raised the company. Right. And then we started auctioning out these unserved areas from the telephony point of view. Okay. And the work involves identifying the areas, putting them, bringing them on the maps with each and every village that needs to be covered. Okay. We use maps from the Pakistan survey of Pakistan, and then we also use digital imagery from Suparco, and we use the population data from the Census Organization, and we put them all together and we say, okay, this is the area which needs to be provided with telephony, and because it's unserved. Okay. And we call them lots, and we auction the lot then. Okay. So the lot is auctioned in such a way that we ask the licensed telecom operators, them means licensed telecom operators, to come up with their proposals in such a way that technical financial are separate. Okay. So we look at the technical proposals first, and if they are covering all the villages that we have identified and we are satisfied with that, we open their the financial proposals.
Okay.
And whoever is the lowest gets the subsidy, whatever the lowest subsidy that has been quoted.
All right.
So this is one of the things that we have been doing.
Okay.
We have already identified and auctioned about 8 such lots, as we call them. The whole country is divided into about 22, 23 lots, as we call them.
Okay, so we've done 8 out of 23.
8 out of 23. Actually, the other ones, the ones that now we are approaching are smaller ones. The previous ones were bigger because they are more remote, and we have seen the further you go, the more hesitant the people are. So the smaller it is, the less the inhibition. So because we have had some experiences where lots were big and there were no shows, actually nobody bid for them.
Right.
Chaghi in Balochistan was a huge lot. So we learned our lessons, and we have cut down the sizes. So there are more left, but actually in terms of population, it's maybe it's about the same. Half of the work has been done.
Okay, so after the lot is auctioned, have any of the projects begun? Have any
not only
completed?
begun in case of Sakkar lot and DG Khan lot. These are the lots which came at number 2 and number 3. 75% of the work is complete. Sakkar is in fact more than 80%.
Okay.
So then comes Pishin and Bahawalpur lots, where more than 25% is done. Okay. Then comes Dadu and all that. So the work is being done. Okay. And what we do is we carry out technical audits of the work that the operator claims to have done.
Okay. Now,
so that's the telephony part.
Okay.
Yeah. The other project that we have started, and we are at the beginning of it, in the sense that we have carried out the bidding process for the first lot, and that is providing optic fiber connectivity to each and every tehsil in the country.
Okay.
So we carried out a survey. There are about 400 tehsil in the country, 400 plus, and we found out that 30% of tehsils do not have fiber access. Okay. All right. And interestingly, whenever we start, earlier on, whenever we wanted to start something new like telecenters or broadband or this and that, even voice telephony that I mentioned earlier, the main problem that came in front of us was connectivity.
Right.
People do not want to connect using satellites because it's very expensive.
Of course.
People also are not too keen on going into these low revenue areas, connecting them over microwave, right. Long string of microwave base stations, because then microwave repeater stations, because that also is very expensive, especially on the...
So naturally they need fiber.
So they need fiber. So we said, okay, when we looked at, if you look at Pakistan's map, there's a lot of fiber, tens of thousands of kilometer fiber along the river Indus on both sides, and maybe 50, 100 kilometers away from Indus, but that's all. So that's how we made a plan. We divided the country again into 10 lots or 10 phases or packages, whatever you call it. And then the Sindh was the first one, so we auctioned it, and one bidder has now won, and tomorrow we are going to sign, today is 10th, 11th Feb.
Going to sign the contract. Okay.
For the first lot.
Okay.
The second has already been advertised.
Okay.
It is Balochistan. It is the Chaghi and all those areas of Balochistan, where the fiber will ultimately go up till the Iranian border. So we'll have an option of going outside Pakistan through that as well, if and when we connect with the Iranis.
Okay.
So we will not be so much dependent on CMV 4 and 3, which gets cut
is a great thing.
every now and then.
Right. So once the fiber...
So that is number 2.
Okay.
And just to complete, number 3 is the broadband. Okay. That's another one which we started, and in that program we have taken the country in the, there are 14 telecom regions in the country, and we said, okay, we will leave aside those cities which are partially served, or
right.
they are still underserved, of course. Even big cities are underserved as far
right.
as broadband
right.
is concerned in Pakistan. So we said, because the operators who are operating there, they were not too keen. They thought their business will be, their existing business will be heavily jeopardized if we come up with subsidies there. So that was a logical point, from that point, their point of view. So we said, okay, we will leave aside the top We looked at the websites of people who have, and we carried out a survey again, and we found out there are about 18 cities where you have some broadband.
Okay.
So we said, okay, leave aside these 18 cities and go in the rest. So there are 500 towns and cities in Pakistan.
Oh.
500.
Wow.
So if you leave alone these 18 top ones, so that means you also leave alone 3 telecom regions of Karachi telecom region, Lahore telecom region, and Islamabad telecom region, which includes Rawalpindi. So there are lots of other telecom regions to go ahead with. So we started the first one. We have again carried out the bidding process for Faisalabad telecom region.
Okay.
Faisalabad telecom region minus the city of Faisalabad.
Okay.
The city of Faisalabad is one of those 18 I mentioned earlier.
Okay.
So still there are 56 towns and cities of all sizes in Faisalabad. And we said, okay, here we are, there's a project, we call it broadband for unserved urban areas.
Okay.
Because of course in villages, broadband would not make any sense at this point in time.
Right.
So that is the third track that we are following.
Okay.
And the fourth track which we are now preparing ourselves to go is the telecenters.
Okay.
Because this broadband ultimately has to go to the villages.
Right.
And you can't expect villagers to have computers in their homes. So in a village there should be a community telecenter where people
So
can
the
go.
telecenter will be funded by the USF?
Everything up to now that I mentioned is being funded by the USF and by the operators.
Okay.
There is always some percentage of operators' own money that is going in.
Yeah, but wouldn't there be projects around it to make it self-sustainable? Because
Yes.
once you put in the money, you can't continue to put in the money, right?
Yes, exactly. Our biggest challenge after connectivity, as I mentioned earlier, connectivity is the first one to reach there. The second biggest challenge in case of telecenters, and that's why we have not been able to start as yet, is sustainability.
Right.
We want the telecenter to stand on its own feet. As soon as we go away, it doesn't fall apart.
Right.
And that is the main challenge, how to do it.
Okay.
And we are struggling these days with lots of models. There are so many models available now.
Correct.
But I mean, with corporates in this, together with the CSR, or using entrepreneurs from the villages themselves.
I think that's the best model, really.
To come up with large entrepreneurs.
Give it to women, it's sure to succeed.
I am quite sure of that. But you see, there has to be some entity again in between that and us who will ensure that, you know, it all takes off.
Well, I think if you provide training to these women and maybe show them the way, you'd be surprised at what they can achieve.
I'm absolutely sure, because I fully agree with you. It has been tried in Bangladesh, for example. It's very successful. Although it's not broadband centers, there are very small single telephone GPRS broadband telecenters. Yes, but we want to go on a little bigger scale.
Right.
But you are absolutely right. Women and
young people.
And young, I was going to say that. And
because
students.
instead of them moving to the cities and looking for jobs,
Absolutely.
if they can start their own ventures in the villages and make money, why wouldn't they want to stay there?
Exactly. So the first thing we need is to, you know, kind of train them and tell them what broadband is, what internet is. So what we have done in, for example, in our broadband project, we have made it obligatory for the winning subsidy operators to provide a broadband connection with a small computer lab in each and every high school and college which comes in their area that they are covering.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very good.
So what we are doing is, in Faisalabad telecom region, for example, in these 56 towns that I mentioned, minus the city of Faisalabad, there are 285 high schools and colleges. We have gone, seen them, and put them on, put the addresses and even the coordinates, the GPS coordinates, so that we are going to check whether the operator has provided or not.
Okay.
So that is one thing. So the students should basically, those students who normally come from the villages nearby also, they come to know what a computer is and what broadband is, and you know, they get to use it, including, by the way, the operator will not only set this up, but he will also provide broadband free of charge for 1 year.
Okay.
Plus he will train at least 2 teachers to run this thing for them, for the students. So that you know, not that something goes wrong and nobody knows what to do about it.
Right.
So yes, you are absolutely right. These students, then we expect them to, you know, run ventures like their own telecenters, and telecenters must make money to some extent.
Of course, otherwise they won't survive.
Yes, so that they can...
It'll be just a pilot that then dies.
Exactly, exactly. So as soon as the TV cameras go away, you know, the things start, because computer disappears and all that.
Right.
So this is very important, that it is sustainable, yes, and that's what we are trying to achieve.
Okay, that is terrific. Now tell me, you did when we first met in Kuala Lumpur, what I was proud to see was that you were making a presentation with Craig Barrett at the World Congress of IT. It was great to see a Pakistani making a presentation regarding this fund, and everybody sort of oohing and eyeing about the fact that Pakistan had gone so much further than a lot of other countries. So what was that like? What was that experience like?
Yeah, that was nice. I mean, you saw that experience, of course, you were there, but it has happened now quite a few times.
Okay.
I was invited by the Vietnamese. They had this what did they call? Information Ministers, Information Technology Ministers Conference of ASEAN countries.
Okay.
Now, Pakistan is not a member of ASEAN, so I had no business being there. So, but they called me and they said, we want you to speak on the Pakistan USF model.
Okay.
Then I was invited by the Indians in India 2008 in Delhi. There I spoke about the USF model. In fact, they had back-to-back speeches or presentations by myself and my Indian counterpart, the administrator, they call him, of the USOF in India.
Right.
And that was an occasion when at least, well, मियाँ मिट्ठू बनने वाली बात हो जाती है, but I could see कि फ़र्क साफ ज़ाहिर है. Then I was also invited to Macau by GSM Association, and other than that, yeah, the Saudis wanted to have a presentation on our model, which a colleague of mine did in Malaysia a couple of weeks ago. So the model is considered to be very successful, this public-private partnership. You know, we have 8 members in the board. I'm the 9th one, of course. The 8 members, 4 come from the government, 4 from the private sector.
Okay, sure.
And this board, you know, is completely independent. So they are fully authorized to take any decision.
Okay. And
so
and they keep checks and balances on each other.
They keep checks, exactly. And they apply.
Which is very important.
Yeah, absolutely, you're right. And the collective wisdom of the private and the public sector is used there. We debate a lot. We sometimes have heated arguments.
No punches thrown. Or
no, not yet. But what comes out is something that is making a difference, I must say.
Okay. Well, maybe some other branches of government can follow the same model.
Actually,
because if it works so well.
Yeah. Actually, this public-private partnership model is becoming very popular. Even in India, I was told that this is a model which is being applied in many other areas, and they have a telecenters organization which is running on this basis. Yes. But that is with some state governments, that not with the national government. In fact, then what happened was, when I was in India and when I talked about it, one of the participants, who is a CEO of a software company, a lady, Vanita Dixit is her name, and she was so excited. She said we should write a joint paper on public-private partnership models in India and Pakistan, and we did that.
Oh, great!
And it's going to appear in this one of the e-government conferences in Goa which they're having, and it's going to be presented as a joint Indo-Pak.
Well, you should share that with us, and we'll put it into CMO or one of the CIO publications.
Yes.
Because I think it'd be great to see what's happening in both countries and sharing that experience, learning from each other.
Exactly. So this public-private model, it works pretty well. I hope, as you said, it should be applied in other areas as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Thank you, Parvez, for being with us.
Thanks a lot.
We'll hope to have you back again soon.
Certainly.
So that we can learn more about what the USF is doing. And perhaps, before we go, is there anything you're doing in the area of content development, or are you leaving that to other organizations?
Yeah, exactly. At the moment, we are not doing anything on that.
Are you encouraging other people to do it?
Yes, certainly.
Encouraging with funding or without funding?
Up to now, we haven't given any funding in that, but certainly we are open to that. In fact, not only content, but also other areas like telemedicine.
Right.
So I am
Very important
having
area.
conversations with some people in government as well, that we can go ahead and fund some of these telemedicine projects.
Yeah, because it would be a shame if you put in all this infrastructure and it was not used.
Exactly. Although I am one of those who believe that if you build the roads, the cars will come. But
yes,
but
true.
yes, we will put some cars also.
Yes. If you put in the first few cars, then the rest of them will follow.
Certainly
And then you will wish that you hadn't done it in the first place, because then there'll be so many cars that you'll be stuck in a traffic jam like you were on the way here. Okay.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so.
Thank you very much, Parvez. We look forward to hearing more about USF and what you're doing, and I hope that that will bring technology to a broader spectrum of Pakistan, which is the only way for us to move forward.
Inshallah, that's what we hope to achieve. I mean, having all the technology and broadband and everything in 18 cities is not enough. The majority of the population
lives in the rural
areas and the peri-urban and semi-urban areas, and that's where we are trying to create a small revolution, inshallah.
I hope you will be successful. That was Parvez Iftikhar of the USF. It was great to have him here, and you learned all about what the USF is doing and what it's planning to do. We will have him back in a couple of months to find out how far they've reached. Tomorrow they're signing a contract with one of the broadband companies. May I mention the name? Fiber optic companies. And hopefully that will bring broadband to a larger region of Sindh. This is Jahan Ara signing off for now from In the Line of Wire.